Hello and welcome to week 5 of Arkham Chronicle Designs a Game. In week 1 we decided to become game designers. Week 2 settled on a mega game. Week 3 we discussed if there was an audience for our game and decided the ultimate destination for it. Week 4 saw us researching more about mega games by scouring the different free resources on the internet. And no one has gone insane or been criminally indicted. This week we will tell you what we learned about mega games and how we can apply it to our design. In our humble opinion, a mega game will have many of these distinct qualities. The most obvious one, which you see in all the photos and videos, is the high player count. Arkham Files games support up to 6 or 8 players right out of the box. Plus, FFG themselves devised the epic multiplayer mode for Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, and the Cycle of Eternity for Eldritch Horror, which accommodates between 13 and 18 players. In fact, if you go back to 2nd Edition Arkham Horror, they were doing the same with 16 players in their To the Barricades events. Which ties directly into this point. These 3 game modes, like mega games, are something you need to attend, not something that appears in the box. FFG travels to conventions all over the world and organises their own annual event for the Arkham Files games in their purpose-built public gaming centre. So this isn't something that is totally alien to either the players or the designers of these games. But something worth mentioning is that these variants are still the base game but played using all the characters. Which means every round you'll be waiting for up to 17 other players to take their turns before you get to have a go. Almost time for a whole game of Final Hour. It's not even the elegant experience of a game like Mega Civilization. What a great segue! A mega game is a real-time event where each player acts simultaneously for the majority of the time. This is how the high player counts are possible. So this is probably the best way to actually have a game where all 60 odd investigators are present at the same time. Wow, wouldn't that be a memorable event? Particularly if they're all dressed up. In the most prolific mega games, such as the Watch the Sky series, you don't generally have a named character with a backstory and a chance to develop and grow them. You'll be something like a politician, scientist, general, and so on. But there are plenty of games where you play a historical figure or fictional character. So we have no worries on that score. And the Arkham Files world has a strong supporting cast, so there is no reason you would need to stop at 60 players. Believe it or not, there are multiple faction-based systems fully developed for the Arkham Files. The most obvious is the class system, invented for the card game and meekly referenced by the current board game. This neatly divides all the investigators and supporting cast into groups, although the neutral faction is very underrepresented. Another feature of the card game is traits, which can also be used to divide the personalities of the Arkham Files into smaller groups. And let's not forget that Arkham has all manner of gangs, clubs, secret societies and institutions that players can belong to. In fact, Call of Cthulhu, the living card game, the first ever living card game, had you play factions rather than individuals. No, I'm not talking about the number of expansions. The idea of being under pressure and up against time is a core part of an Arkham Files game, be it actual ticking clocks, the advancing of a nefarious agenda, or the proliferation of bad juju leading to the doom hitting the anomaly. Plus the race to gather as many clues as you can before it is too late. Contrast this with the mechanics, however, which go out of their way to stop 2 things happening at the same time. You have lengthy rules entries, intimidating flowcharts, and nested sequencing examples that go on for literally days. No, it's not a Harry Potter reference. This is something that makes a mega game distinct from a giant board game. A wizard wheeze is a situation where the player presents a plan to the game controllers that is not covered by the rules, and they invent mechanics and probabilities on the fly to resolve the situation. It's the same kind of improvising a games master does in a role-playing game. Let's double check with the mega game assembly.
Any action a player tries to accomplish that is not an explicit part of the rules of the mega game they're playing. Generally, a player will speak to Control to see if what they are suggesting in the game is viable, with Control relaying what resources, time, money will need to be spent in order to accomplish the wheeze.
That's what I said! It's a quintessentially English phrase you'd probably hear in children's fiction in the 1920s, and that you'd use with your boarding school chums. It's actually tricky to track down the etymology, but back in the 1800s, a wheeze was a trick or gag that later became a clever or novel idea, Wizard was the Edwardian equivalent of rad, that you young people used to mean especially good. So, a Wizard Wheeze was the top-hole, tip-top, first-rate example of an out-of-the-box idea. Okay, that's the ghost of Keith. Blink with the tangent alarm. Turn that thing off! In Arkham Files games, there is no blue sky thinking, no freestyling, no improvising or anything like that. The closest you come is building your own deck in the card game and trying to find overpowered cards and combos that slipped through playtesting. And as there won't be an Arkham Files RPG, a mega game could be the closest players get to an emergent narrative. Well, it looks like there is enough about the Arkham Files universe to tick the majority of mega games boxes, so we don't need to go back to the drawing board. That was lucky, eh? Do let us know if you think the Arkham Files universe would be a good fit for a massively multiplayer offline mega game in the comments below, and why not push the thumbs up button while you are there. If you think you know a bit about mega games or Arkham Horror and want to appear on a future episode, get in touch with the Arkham Chronicle. If you want to have your design question answered or you want to see episodes early, then mosey on over to their Patreon.